There it is. Being recorded.
Okay, shall I start here? Okay, so let's start.
I can share.
Okay, my presentation is going to be kind of redundant because what I did, actually everything in the sabbatical application is connected. You know, all these sections, you know, complement each other. So the purpose of the sabbatical leave is to pursue a plan of study. You can do either these: pursue a plan of study at an accredited institution, or you can complete a project which constitutes an organized program with clear objectives. You can also do a study sabbatical by doing work experience which enable faculty to learn new skills and trends in their field to better serve students. Or you can do a combination of all the activities that the sabbatical application mentions. You can combine travel with a project, or you can do work experience on travel, etc., etc. Now, the committee reviews the sabbatical application and it bases its decision on the criteria that we have established in the application. And the criteria is clearly stated in this document, and it calls for an increased knowledge of subject areas or technologies related to the applicant's field. It also mentions that you can do a sabbatical in order to develop curriculum related to current or proposed offerings, or for the development of the student services and programs of the district. Or you can do it to improve your teaching, the professional teaching, and to improve student services and methods that these services are delivered. And one of the things that the sabbatical committee emphasizes, and the application does also, is that the completion of these activities cannot be done reasonably during your contractual hours. So in other words, you're going to need the time to dedicate that time to do your project. In order to select the people who are going to be granted a sabbatical, we prioritize the applications. First of all, you know, we ask ourselves questions such as, does the sabbatical plan provide a detailed plan of a study with dates and objectives? Or is the proposed plan going to improve services to the district and the students? Or is the proposed plan a plan that enables the faculty member to respond to changing educational needs? Or we also ask ourselves, is the sabbatical leave good to increase knowledge on a subject area or knowledge on technologies related to one field? And finally, we also ask ourselves, is the sabbatical based on a plan that cannot reasonably be done while fulfilling contractual obligations? So basically, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, everything in the application, every section of the application complements, is complementary of each other. So you have to make sure though that your application is clearly written and it has clear objectives. For instance, if you were going to do a program of studies at a university, you need to bring to the sabbatical committee a list of a plan of studies and also a letter of acceptance from the institution. In other words, everything has to be on the table before we decide to grant you a sabbatical. So are there any questions from any of you members? I guess the next person is going to be John, because you're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about the guide for sabbatical leave based on the district contract.
Sure. So I have the second item in the agenda for today. It's on sabbatical leaves from the contract's point of view. The pertinent section of the contract is 4.2. So you should be careful to read everything in section 4.2 very carefully. What I'll do is just hit a few points, most of which were hit last year. So I'll hit the same points over again. 421. Annually, sabbatical leaves shall be granted to eligible unit members for the purpose of carrying out an approved program of study or travel. In 4211, it tells when the sabbatical can be taken. It says that the sabbatical leaves will be completed within 1 academic year, normally. However, unit members may take the leave in 2 separate semester periods with prior approval from the leave committee, provided the total leave is completed within a 3-year period. And any period of service between the separate semesters shall comprise a part of the service required for a subsequent sabbatical leave. So what this means is that usually a sabbatical leave is either 1 semester long or 2 semesters long, taken in back to back, but you have the option of applying for a sabbatical in your application to state that you would like to take your sabbatical in 2 separate semesters, not back to back, and that is allowed as long as the 2 semesters will be completed within a 3-year period. And the intervening time between the 2 semesters on which you are on sabbatical will count toward your next sabbatical. 4212, the district shall allocate funds in the district preliminary budget each fiscal year for financing of sabbatical leaves totaling 4 FTEF. So this should be an item already in the budget. 4218, by the end of the semester immediately following the sabbatical, the unit member who has completed a sabbatical leave will submit to the Leave Approval Committee a written report covering the period of the sabbatical. So you have to submit a report on your sabbatical in the semester after you return. In 4219, it states that the applicant will agree to serve the district immediately following completion of the sabbatical for at least twice the time of the leave granted. So if you're on a one semester sabbatical, you have to continue your employment here for 1 year. After you return, if you take a 1-year sabbatical, you have to continue your employment for 2 years after you return. 42110. Compensation while on sabbatical leave shall be 95% of the unit member's range and step, computed in accordance with the salary schedule in effect during the period of leave, with 5% of sabbatical compensation held. That means 5% of that 95% you're receiving will be withheld. The sabbatical leave will be counted as service and experience on the salary schedule and time for retirement. That 5% that is withheld will be paid to you after your leave report is approved. And then 42111, this is important. If while you're on sabbatical you decide that for some reason you need to amend your sabbatical leave proposal, then 42111 addresses that. It says that any deletion or modification of items in the approved program shall be made only after an amended plan has been submitted and approved using the same procedure as applies to the original leave request. So if you find that circumstances require you to amend your leave proposal while you're on sabbatical, you have to be sure to submit an application to amend your sabbatical proposal, and that needs to be approved. Otherwise, you will not have been considered to have completed the sabbatical properly.
I will say something. However, there are cases where, like we have one case of a person who went overseas to take a class and to take courses, and the university cancels some courses. So that person immediately contacted the committee, and there was no way really to approve, but it, let the committee know what's going on. There are circumstances that are beyond the applicant's control.
Okay. Is there anything else I should add? Again, I just want to reiterate that you should read very carefully all of section 4.2 in the current contract. And I think it's on pages 8 to 11. Thank you.
Now, what happened is that I did everything together, 1 and 3, so.
Okay. I'll provide the timeline.
Yeah.
Today we're holding the leave workshop. We'll have the tape available and make sure an email goes out to that effect in case anyone is interested. And then the application deadline is scheduled for November 16th, giving you a month to work on the application. Of course, we as a committee welcome questions and are able to address any concerns that you might have during this process. So November 16th, end of day, applications are due, and they're due in the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Educational Planning and Services. I serve as a sponsor, so I will collect all the applications, and then we will make them available for review by the Leave Committee the week of November 17th through the 20th. In the next 2 to 3 weeks after that, prioritization and recommendation will be detailed to Chancellor Harrington, and December 16th is our deadline to get our recommendation as a Leave Committee to her. The recommendation as an agenda item goes to the Board of Trustees for approval in January 2010. And that's the timeline we're looking at for the 2009-10 request for sabbatical leaves. Standards for writing?
Okay, I have a list that I've gone through, and it's interesting because my sabbatical, I'm just coming off my 3rd sabbatical, has been a mix of academic study, industry experience, and travel study. So I'll talk about how I crafted this. It's like Fernando said, it could be a mix of any and all of this. And like I just said, mine was a mix of everything. So my 1st semester was academic study, and I think it's important that when you propose your sabbatical that you're as thorough and as complete as possible. Some areas could include identifying the institution, of course, the location, the duration, is it quarter, is it semester, the unit load, course title, catalog description, faculty. You could take excerpts out of the institution's catalog, or if it's a workshop, to include as much of that as possible. And then, of course, you have to include the rationale and reason why these courses are going to support your duties as a professor. And then another thing you could do, although the deadline has been pushed up now to November 16th, you're going to have to, if you haven't done so already, it would be great if you could have letters of acceptance. And in relation to what Fernando said, possibly if they're going to be scheduling conflicts, to come up with some alternative courses. And because if you go to, especially the public institutions with the financial crunch that a lot of them are experiencing, maybe having class cuts, cancellations. So you may have to think of that because, again, like Fernando said, you need to submit a revision as soon as you find out that there are changes. And that's really important because I think there have been people that have been caught up in that, making changes without approval. And when they come back, there's been some misunderstanding. So that's the academic study, and the equivalent is supposed to be 9 to 12 units of grad courses. I have found one thing in doing these proposals, you need to be as creative as possible. For instance, in my area, I've been studying software applications, and that's not necessarily covered in a grad type of level. It's more of undergrad, and there are a lot of quick, concise courses out there covering software applications that you could enroll in. And so mine was a mix of undergrad and grad courses. And then what I did was I mixed in and did industry experience. I have 160 hours worth of industry experience, and this is in Sacramento. I worked at a digital lab the same semester I was taking classes, which is really good because the price of gas last year was astronomical. So I dovetailed Sac State into the digital lab. So in terms of that, make sure you have a letter from the employer, the company who's going to be offering the experience to confirm the involvement. You may want to note hours per week, the job description, duties, and then the outcomes, and how this is going to help your duties as a professor and instructor here. And then the third one is travel study. Now this is, I think, of all the areas, it's possibly the most nebulous because it is somewhat, it's not like a unit load, or it's not as demonstrable, in terms of outcomes. But what I've done is I've indicated the duration of travels to the exact dates. Now, possibly give or take a week or so, but you want to note how long that travel is going to be, and then you want to include the itinerary, destinations, the purpose, and the outcomes of the experience. And then, like I said, you may want to include some alternate destinations, itineraries, that could possibly provide a similar outcome. And then you can include within that the actual field study. In addition to the field study, you can also include the pre and post research that you'll encounter if you're doing reading, research, study, and then of course the post experience, post research when you return. And in my case, it turned out with my art, it's about 50% actual field experience and 50% post research, because I have to prepare all my photographs for the gallery show. And then one thing I want to mention is that this experience generally is during the regular semesters into January, because there's been some misunderstanding with summer activities. In the past, there has been some recognition of summer activities, but I guess
we're looking at the long semester.
Yeah, long semester. Okay, and I guess that could happen intersession January also, if it goes in there. But it's really August 15th or so to May, whatever.
Right.
Right. Okay. I want to say to be creative and innovative. I think the sabbaticals are a fabulous opportunity for enrichment and for updating. And I think if you were creative, you could combine all three of these aspects into one really fabulous experience. And make sure you get if there are any changes, to get them in writing, okay, from the committee. Okay? So that's what I have to say. John?
And I think, though, that in regards to the changes that happen, the committees, the members of the committee tend to understand what's going on, and I think the biggest mistake would be not to communicate with the committee.
Yes, and I think the committee has been very
Understanding of situations. And I guess the last one we all can talk about it is the report that you have to fill in after you finish your sabbatical. Extremely important for two reasons. One, because the district has provided the finances for the sabbatical. And second, because we need to show the board of the trustees and also the community that we show our professionalism by presenting a good sabbatical report.
I did hear from at least one of the board members at the this October meeting that they had interest in hearing from the sabbatical recipients about their experience. So that's something that we'll be looking at, making sure we're able to have an opportunity to present to them.
In addition to that, I'm not longer the flex coordinator, but I still think that we should highly recommend that the sabbatical reports be presented as a flex.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had a gallery
workshop, yeah.
exhibition and a talk.
Yeah, I went to that. Okay, so I guess this concludes the meeting.
I want to say one thing too, about STIR's catch-up clause. Okay, don't forget that, because you're at a 95% load or activity level. You need to contact STIRS to get that up to 100% and pay the back catch-up funds.
I wasn't familiar.
Otherwise, you will be dinged. You're not going to have a full year of
You don't have
service.
I thought you didn't have any.
No, you'll get
You'll
service.
carry it.
So in this case, it'll be 95%. So, and it's really nominal. The quicker you do it, the better off you're going to be.
Cheaper.
Because if you wait 5-10 years, the interest on that's going to compound. And if and when you get close to retirement, when you do your STIRS calculations, you'll get hit with a big chunk.
And it's something I think we should include in the application, because many faculty
Aren't aware of that.
were not aware of that, and one of them, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so if you have 2 sabbaticals, you're not, those 2 sabbaticals aren't going to 2 years.
Leonard Borman was telling me he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
He lost some.
As a last comment, actually maybe a question to the rest of the committee. I think in the past, the committee has been very gracious to look over applications ahead of time before they're submitted, to give guidance as to whether there's enough or not enough or in the right direction. And is that something we'll be willing to do?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're not sure if your application is up to snuff before you submit it officially, please contact someone on the committee to get some guidance on that. I think we all want everyone who applies to have their best chance of getting this.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that when the email goes out, that the list of leave members are on there, so that they know who to contact in case there are questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to applications.